All right, welcome. Here we are. It is Saturday evening here in the Riverina, which is the breadbasket of New South Wales in Australia. And I'm from West Wyalong just at the moment and talking to you live. So there you go. Hey, listen, thanks for the single person. Thanks to the single person who is watching these videos and has given a couple of them a like. That's really good. Thank you very much for that. The Lord will look after you, I'm sure. But thank you. That it means a lot to me, actually. Anyway, here we go. So, what have I done today? Well, I think I've said before, I kind of end up working about 7 days a week, right? And I think it's kind of normal if you're if I'm going to say this, if you're a good journalist, if you're going to do the job properly, you've got to be available pretty much all the time. You can't afford to go, oh, I'll leave that for another 2 or 3 days. It's just not a great idea. It really isn't. So you need to be on the ball. Anyway, so I'm kind of always feel I'm switched on to it, and that's okay. But yeah, it's a 7 day a week thing at the moment, especially as I'm the only person doing the news on this particular paper, the West Wyalong Advocate. Don't bother looking it up online. It has no presence whatsoever. Well, it does have a Facebook page now, which I started some time ago. Still no website, but we're working on that. So we'll have that up soon. Anyway, there you go. You know, it's one of those things. So, what did I do today? Well, I didn't do anything much today. I decided I'd try and have a day off. So, what the previous editor used to do, so this person retired at Christmas time, I shadowed her for 3 months. And that was an interesting experience, let me tell you. Anyway, so what she used to do is she wouldn't work on a Monday. She'd come in on a Tuesday, but she wouldn't open the office up. She'd sit there and she'd go through the stories she got and she'd get them ready for the paper. And then she was in on Wednesday, which is a day when it's all laid out, and Thursday, which is a day we finish laying it out, usually do the front page and get that off. Friday, she'd take the day off because she'd be covering sport on the weekend, but she'd only cover one sport, the Bulldogs, which is AFL and also netball. It's kind of, it's loads of sets of teams there. So she'd do that. Now, what I do is I think it's important the office is open every day so people can come in and talk and give me stories and chat or whatever. Just sit down, have a cup of coffee. That's how you learn about what's going on. So I've been doing that. And what I found is that initially people weren't coming in, of course, because they weren't used to it. But then all of a sudden they were. One bloke said, well, I just pushed the door and I found it open. I thought I'd come in. I said, right, I got about 3 or 4 stories out of that ultimately. That's what it's about in my mind, right? That's what it's about. You've got to be listening to the community and you've got to be getting stories. What journalist doesn't want stories? So the previous editor, I mean, I'm not going to knock her too much. She's been doing it. I think I've said before, it's something bizarre like 43 years, right? I don't really understand that, why you'd want to be in the same place for 43 years. Anyway, basically what would happen is she'd only do stories if people sent them in, if people brought the story in, wouldn't go out, wouldn't go interviewing people. It's important to get out and about. You just got to do it. Anyway, so I'm trying to do that, obviously, meeting as many people as I can. I'm getting really good feedback. People keep coming up to me and saying, somebody said to me the other day, okay, Friday, I'll go into this in a minute. I was at the NAIDOC. I was going to say celebrations. It's an Aboriginal event, and the local school, West Wyalong Public School, they got all of the local schools to come along to them, and they had some Aboriginal folks there, locals who I know well now, and they did a lot of things like smoking ceremony at the beginning, and after that they were teaching the kids how to do things like painting rocks and weaving bracelets using I don't know what it is. What do they call that stuff? Taffia or something, isn't it? Anyway, they were doing that, and also throwing boomerangs, and that was pretty interesting. That was good. I like that when it works. And they also had a number of Aboriginal spears they let the kids get their hands on. What could possibly go wrong there? What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, nothing did. They weren't chucking them around or anything. It was just explaining what they were. Anyway, but that's the point. You've got to be out and about, right? You've got to be doing things. So, but today I felt guilty because I decided to have a day off. and decided not to cover any sport because that's obviously mostly what's on the weekend. Tomorrow, I am going to go and cover rugby league, and I'll go along. When I say cover, I don't really understand it. I don't know the players too well. I do a load of pictures. There's another woman there who does photographs, and she's a professional photographer. She's really good and very pleasant, right? Really nice person. And she said to me, "Oh, what lens do you use for this? And what setting do you put it on?" I said, I looked at her, I said, "I just take hundreds of pictures, and out of that, there's going to be 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 if I'm lucky, that are good." And she looked at me and she went, "Oh, that's all you need to do, right? Just click away and you'll get loads of pics and some of them will be good," right? So it works really well. And then people look at the paper and they go, "God, he's such a good photographer." It's really funny. Anyway, there we go. So I went and did the NAIDOC thing on Friday, which was good. I put some posts up online, bit of video as it's happening, that sort of gets people a bit engaged. And then I'll write a story for the paper, right? So the paper comes out basically a week after the event, but it's a paper record. Okay, so you got to do it. Anyway, so getting off that now for a while. I keep humming the James Bond theme at the moment, as you do. And I do that every now and again. I don't know why really, but it got me thinking about James Bond. So, to my mind, the 2 best James Bonds are Sean Connery, who was the original one, obviously, and Daniel Craig. And I reckon Daniel Craig carried it off really well. I reckon he's the best, actually, I've got to say. And I thought some just really great things about it. Casino Royale, that was a film where they relaunched the Bond franchise, if you like. I suppose that's what they call it. Before that, I think it had really lost its way. They were trying to be amusing with it and all of that sort of stuff. It had lost its bite, lost its edge, lost its buzz. It just didn't have it. Daniel Craig, they got him in, wasn't all up to him, obviously, but it was also down to the writers. The best thing about it to me, about that Casino Royale film, brilliant film, right? But the best thing to me about it was that phrase where he goes, anyway, it's right at the end of the film. And the guy's wounded. He shot this guy. He's shot him from a distance. He's like a sniper, and he shot him and he's caught up with him. And the guy goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Bond. My name's Bond. James Bond." Now that was brilliant the way they did that, because normally, of course, that would be near the beginning of the film, and this was great the way they did that. I thought that was a really nice touch, Anyway, I really like the Bond films, and Daniel Craig's retired from it now because he's about 98. Actually, he's younger than me, but so they've got to get a new James Bond, right? And of course, as you know, there's been all this talk about, should it be a person of color? Should it be a woman? Absolutely bloody not. It's ridiculous. I don't want to sound anti-woke. I don't even really know what woke is, to be honest. I just talk my mind, speak my mind. But point is this, James Bond, right? He's a bloke. He's a bloke. He's a white bloke, okay? Don't be messing with it too much. Idris Elba, I could kind of see him. It'd work as a Bond, right? But you've got to get somebody like Tom Hardy. You just got to get somebody like that. If he's not too old now. Tom's probably knocking on a bit as well. But please don't go down that path of going like, oh, we're going to get a transgender person in. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Stick with the program. Keep it as it is. Now, I mentioned on Friday, as I say, I was at the NAIDOC ceremony. It was bloody cold, I've got to tell you. Here's the thing about Australia often, which is nice. It was lovely and sunny, and we're in winter now, right? Our seasons here are the opposite of the Northern Hemisphere seasons. And so we're in winter, and it's pretty cold. It's not as cold as it is in Europe, but the houses here are not insulated like they are in Europe or in the UK. So it's pretty damn cold. And if the wind is blowing, which in this area, here's a funny thing. In the Riverina where I am, there's always a breeze, right? Which I love. It actually reminds me a lot of Britain. There's always a breeze, isn't there, in Britain? Here in Australia, often there's no breeze, right? So the family, as you know, are still down in the Hawkesbury. The Hawkesbury is about 80 kilometres, 80 kilometres from Sydney. It's not on the coast, it's inland a bit. But there's very rarely a breeze. And our house there, we're up on a mountain, right? Well, I say a mountain. They call it a mountain here. To me, it's a big hill, right? Comparing it with anywhere in Britain or Europe, there's no way it's a mountain. It's just a big hill. Anyway, we are elevated, but there's still not much of a breeze most of the time. August here is about the only time you get it's a windy month, August, right? Anyway, point is, I'm down there and I'm taking pictures, and I'm waiting actually for them to get started. There's loads of teachers there because they're all from different primary schools. Interesting thing that stands out about that is that the majority of them, not surprisingly, are women. There are hardly any male teachers. I think there are 2 out of about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20, 25, and the rest of them are women. I think it's a bit of a shame, because I really, really do think that, like, the boys in particular, they need the sort of like male guidance, they really, really do. Anyway, it's the way it is. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and I can kind of understand them in a way, but we'll go into that again maybe one other day. But anyway, so I'm standing there. I've got a coat on, right? But I should really have brought the padded coat. I should have got that out of the car and done that, because although it was lovely and sunny and bright blue sky, there was a wind and a half, and it was scything through, right? So I'm standing there, I'm waiting for it to begin, and everybody's getting ready. There's all these teachers there. There's a woman standing near me. She's a teacher. Oh, I guess she is. I don't really know. She's standing there. She's got a big puffer jacket on. I said to her, making conversation as I do, I said, I really should have brought my jacket. I should have got a jacket just like you've got. And she looked at me and she laughed and she said, well, there's room enough in here for 2. I looked at her, I looked at her coat, and I thought, no, there's not. There really isn't. There really isn't. She was filling it out. There was no room in there. Anyway, I thought it was nice of her to to mention it. Anyway, we'll carry on. We'll walk on from that. But anyway, that was interesting. So what did I do today? Well, I went to the laundry, and the laundry is run by a bloke called Wombat. Obviously, that's not his real name. I have no idea what he's actually called, but he rides Harley Davidson, right? He's an old bloke, probably older than me. He used to run a pub down in one of the villages. Anyway, now he runs a laundrette, as you do. The laundrette's okay, but they don't use any hot water. It's really irritating because you set the bloody machine up and it goes cool, warm, hot. Doesn't make any difference because there's no hot water, right? It's quite irritating, to be perfectly honest. You don't notice it in the and warmer months. You really notice it now. Anyway, as a dog, I don't know what the dog's name is. This female dog, little dog, right? Like Jack Russell. What do you call them? Coarse haired, not smooth one. Lovely little dog. Anyway, me being me, I can't help myself. I miss my 2 dogs, Oscar and Leo. They're back home in the Hawkesbury. I'm going back this coming weekend. Don't think about burglaring this place. So, burglaring. What is that word? Don't think about breaking in or burglarizing the place, because frankly, there's nothing here of any value apart from myself, and I won't be here. Anyway, so he had this little dog. I love my dogs. And I said to him, it's a lovely dog. He said, my son, he's having a litter of dogs. I said, not your son, obviously. And he went, yes, he is. And I said, no, he's not. And he went, he is. My son is definitely having a litter of dogs. Anyway, I didn't pursue it because there's no point, really. I wasn't getting anywhere with that. That wasn't going anywhere, right? I said, okay, well, when he's had the dogs, can you let me know? And then this is actually a few months ago. Can you let me know? Because I'd be interested. And then I thought to myself afterwards, like, why am I interested? I can't have another dog. And even if I did have another dog, what would I do with the other dogs? Anyway, I've got to figure the dog situation out. I need them here with me, really. But I don't think that's really going to work because they're at home and they're happy there and, all this sort of stuff. It's a difficult one. I've got to tell you. Anyway, there we go. What else? Okay, so rugby league tomorrow. I'm going to cover that. I've also got to go in the office because this is boring as we're changing over the design package on the paper from Quark Express to InDesign. Nobody uses Quark Express now, apart from the folks there, right? And they love it. They swear by it. It's like some religious sort of like symbol. What's the word? religious relic, you know, and it is like a relic, right? Nobody uses Quark Express now. I used it 30 years ago. Yeah, pretty much then. Only really for proofing pages, but anyway, I've got to figure that out because I've got to try and mount the InDesign. Anyway, that's about it, really, I suppose. What else? What else? Nothing much else going on. I had a good afternoon's sleep. Have I mentioned this before? Probably have. About my granddad. When we used to, I have mentioned it. I'm going to mention it again. When we used to go there on weekends, because we used to live fairly near them, which was great. I really, really kind of miss those years, I suppose. We had to be careful that we weren't too noisy in the afternoon, whatever day it was, weekend, I suppose, because he was having a sleep. And I used to think, that is bloody annoying, really, really annoying. Now I've got a bit older, I think, oh, it's a great idea, the afternoon sleep. So there you go. There you go. Anyway, that's about it, I suppose. I'm going to have an earlyish night tonight and get up early and sort out all of these things at work, like you're in design. And we'll go from there. Anyway, that's all good. Look, listen, please do subscribe. I'm not going to even laugh about it now because I know somebody is watching it. That's good. Do subscribe. This is what I'd really love to do all the time, right? Yeah, I can cut out a bit of the waffle, I guess, but I would love to do it. I think it's my milieu. I've said this before, haven't I? I think it is something I want to be doing. Anyway, look, you know, any support I can get with that would be super. All righty. Everybody have a good evening. If you're in Australia, a good morning. If you're in the UK or the US or wherever else in the world, or good afternoon if you just tuned in from Nairobi. I have no idea what time it is there, but anyway. Yeah, and I'm going to start talking a little bit about my book Gone, which I wrote for the kids when they were, I was thinking about it today. I reckon they were about 3 and 1 ages, you know, age 3 and 1. I started writing this book, Gone. It's all about my life up until really I came to Australia and a little bit beyond that. So I never did get it published. I wanted to get it published, but I'm not a well-known, famous person. So why are they going to pick it up? They're not. But I'm going to start telling some of those stories because those formed the backbone of Real TART when it was a blog. People found them quite amusing. That's what made a lot of them switch on. Listen, I reckon I didn't touch my ear once today. I've been really making an effort. Anyway, all right, you have a good time. And we'll talk again soon. And, yep, all good. Take care out there.